So I just read Dark Imperium by Guy Haley, and it was not great, but at some parts it was. This book is fucking weird, but don't worry, I'll explain what I mean. So the story, and well, there really isn't one. Dark Imperium doesn't really feel like a book in a traditional sense. Instead, it feels like 10-ish short stories that are somewhat related to Guilliman's return, called Primaris and the Dead Guard's attack on Ultramar. There's also not really anything that ties them closer together. For an example, you'll have one chapter about Marnius Calgar being jealous of the Uber Smurf, and then a chapter about a priest, and then a chapter about Col Inferior, and then back to a chapter about Calgar. There's very little logic behind the structure, and sometimes you'll just be wondering why a certain arc hasn't continued for the last 5 pages, only to find out that apparently Haley decided that he was done writing chapters for that arc, and the book just doesn't talk about it anymore. I'll do a little rundown of the main events for you so you have a general idea of what to expect. Fulgrim penetrates Daddy Smurf. Hard. After which we get a time jump to modern days. Guilliman is back and struggles to keep everyone in the Imperium on his side. Funny enough, the Codex Astartes really comes to buy him back in the arse at times. Guilliman also has some existential crises going on as he learns some uncomfortable truths about the Emperor. This of course, combined with the loneliness of being the last Primarch alive, doesn't make him very happy. Cole is an absolute troll, and if it wasn't for Blueberry Daddy, he'd be long burned alive for heresy by basically any Ordo known to the Imperium, including the Cult Mechanicus itself. There's some great discussions about his plans and funny interactions with Guilliman here. Mortarion, Typhus, and Kugat have some family issues. You get a glimpse from the last moments of the Grey Shields and some great interactions between the sons from different Primarchs. Marnius Calgar isn't doing very well emotionally, basically he's just been replaced by a carbon copy of himself that's better in every single way. There's cameos of many named Smurfs, such as Uriel Ventris and Severus, but most of all, a fuck ton of Primaris and Dead Guard advertising that you'll have to struggle through. Anyway, I think that's all you need to know story-wise. Let's get to the actual review part again. This too is a bit of a struggle, as I don't think I've ever seen the quality of a book fluctuate so extremely and so erratically. It's almost as if Haley started with some cool concepts about Guilliman, Belisarius, and the Imperium, but then realized that he only had 100 pages. He then decided to just toss in some named characters, add some random plot points about other factions, and introduce a new important Primaris character, which he then called Decimus, to piss off all Nightlord players in one fell swoop. But the story does not stop there, however, as the management called him and told him that there had to be at least 100 pages of Primaris Marine advertisements, and at least 50 Dead Guard advertisement pages. So he said fuck it, jumbled it all together and called it a day. Especially these advertisement pages were something I disliked. They often were completely unnecessary for the plot, and the story really just boiled down to Smurf shoots some nameless Iron Warriors, or Dead Guard shoots some random humans. The writing quality dropped a lot during these stories as well, with every other sentence starting with Firstborn of the inferior first generation could never do this, but the much superior Primaris could. It really just felt as if I was reading a book but then had to sit through a half-hour long ad before I could continue. The absurdly shitty and unoriginal quotes during these parts deserve a special shout out as well. I low-key regret not writing them down, but to give you an idea, "Make Ultramar great again" is literally a slogan used by the Smurfs in this book. I never had a problem with Primaris beforehand, but now after reading this book I kinda understand why people are a bit triggered by them. But in contrast to this shit, there's a quite amazing portrayal of Robert Guilliman. Not only is he actually portrayed as a hyper-competent statesman, unlike other books, he's also given a lot of extra depth. He has woken up in an era that he doesn't understand, in an Imperium that's a perversion of everything he believes in. He learns that his father was quite a bad person, but also starts to understand him more and more as he tries to weave the Imperium back together. He also has to work together with Belisarius, who is the textbook definition of a mad scientist. Basically, there's so much going on that even Guilliman is out of his league, and this concept of Guilliman trying against all odds to make it work was something I thoroughly enjoyed and hope to see more of. The typical comedian skills of Guy Haley also shine in this book. All factions, no matter what chapter or organization they are, feel unique and their portrayals do justice to them. Guy Haley is somehow capable of writing any faction and making it work. This is especially clear during the arc about the Grey Shields. Another huge bonus point goes to Belisarius Col and his definitely not abominable intelligence, Col Inferior. There's only one scene with this guy in the book, but it's hands down my favorite part of the book. Cole is the perfect mixture of insane genius and self-obsessed internet troll, and his interaction with Guilliman is one of the funniest things I've ever read. Oh yeah, and on top of this, the lore implications of his interactions are huge. All in all, I guess I'll give this book 3 out of 5. Make Ultramar great again helmets. There's no logical structure to speak of, and about a third of the book feels like an intrusive advertisement. But outside of that, there's an excellent portrayal of Guilliman, together with some huge lore implications, and some comedy gold in the form of Call Inferior.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing and click ringing the bell to appease the Great Horned Rat. For more lore content, please check my main channel and leave any book recommendations in the comments down below. I gotta get back to reading the next book.